Hey kids, welcome back to Sunday school. Let's go.
Hey kids, today we'll be singing a song. It's called Deep Down in My Heart. Let's sing. Deep down, down, deep down in my heart, I love you, Jesus. Deep, deep down, down, deep down in my heart. Let's sing that again. Deep down, down, deep down in my heart, I love you, Jesus. Deep down, down, deep down in my heart. Caleb, do you love your Jesus?
Yes, I love my Jesus.
Deep down in your heart. Deep down, down. Deep down in my heart, I love you, Jesus. Deep down, down. Deep down in my heart. Samuel, do you love your Jesus? Deep down in your heart.
Yes, I love my Jesus.
Deep down in your heart. Deep down, down. Deep down in my heart, I love you, Jesus. Deep down, down. Deep down in my heart. Jaira, do you love your Jesus? Deep down in your heart.
Yes, I love my Jesus.
Deep down in your heart. Deep down, down. Deep down in your heart, I love you, Jesus. Deep down, down. Deep down in your heart. Deep down, down. Deep down in my heart, I love you, Jesus. Deep down, down. Deep down in my heart. Deep down, down. Deep down in my heart, I love you, Jesus. Deep down, down. Deep down in my heart. Deep down in my heart. Deep down in my heart.
Hello, boys and girls, I am Pastor Daniel. For story time, we are going to share the second part of Joseph's story in Genesis chapter 42 to 47. Last time, we have learned that Joseph was sold as a slave by 10 of his brothers to Egypt. Joseph had gone through many difficulties, but Joseph always trusted the Lord and was faithful to the Lord. So the Lord was with Joseph and blessed him. Joseph went from being a prisoner to being one of Pharaoh's top leaders. Pharaoh had beautiful clothes made for Joseph and gave him his very own chariot. In it, Joseph traveled around Egypt, making sure everyone grew and saved enough food before the 7 years when the ground would not grow food. Joseph now had power, but he remembered it was God who had protected him. God deserved worship and praise because he had given Joseph everything that he needed. For 7 years, the land had food, but suddenly it stopped. Just as Joseph had said, the land would no longer grow food, and the animals died. Everything was fine in Egypt because God had warned Pharaoh in a dream and Joseph had explained what God said to Pharaoh. So they were prepared. Joseph had made sure that there was food stored away for all the people in Egypt. In fact, he made sure there was even a lot extra stored away for people from other surrounding lands, because he knew that they would also be hungry and need food. Meanwhile, Joseph's father Jacob and his 11 brothers lived far away in Canaan, and they had no more food left. Joseph's father heard that there was food in Egypt, so he sent his sons to go to Egypt to buy some grain to eat. But Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's brother, with the others, because he was afraid that harm might come to him. Joseph's brother arrived in Egypt and were brought before Joseph to ask to buy some grain. Joseph recognized his brothers right away, but they did not know who he was, because it had been a long time since they had sold him into slavery. Joseph's brother bowed down before him. In order to test whether they have repented or not, Joseph pretended that he did not know them. Joseph said,
"You are spies. You have come to see where our land is unprotected."
They answered, "We are not spies. We are honest people. We are from Canaan. We have one youngest brother at home in Canaan." Joseph said to them,
"If you are really honest people, send one of you home to bring your youngest brother here. Otherwise, you are surely spies. The rest of you will be kept in prison until the one of you bring your youngest brother here."
So Joseph put them all together in prison for 3 days. In the prison, they said to one another, "We are being punished because of the sin that we sold our brother Joseph as a slave many years ago." They were all very regretted. 3 days later, Joseph set them free, but only kept Simeon in prison. Joseph sold them food and said,
"Go home and bring your youngest brother here so that I will know that you are not spies. And I will set your brother free also, and I will sell you more grain."
They went home and brought their brother Benjamin to Joseph. Joseph saw his brother Benjamin and knew that his father was still alive, so Joseph was very happy. Joseph sold them food again, and they gladly brought the food home to Canaan. In order to test whether his brother had really repented or not, Joseph told his steward of his house to put his silver cup quietly into Benjamin's footsteps before they went home. Joseph sent his steward to chase them when they had not gone far from the city. When the steward caught up with them, he said to them, "Why have you stolen my master's silver cup?" They answered, "We never did that. If anyone has stolen your master's silver cup, put him to death. You can search our sacks." The steward said, "Okay, open all the sacks. Whoever is found with my master's silver cup shall be my master's slave." So the steward started to search their sacks. Finally, he found the silver cup in Benjamin's sack. They were all very sad and tore their clothes. The steward took them back to Joseph. Judah, representing all his brothers, pleaded for Benjamin. Judah said, "Let me be your slave for my youngest brother." Please set him free, for my father loved him so much. Please let him go home with my brothers, otherwise my father will die. Joseph saw that now. They really loved their old father and loved their youngest brother. Joseph saw that. They have really repented. Joseph was very touched and said to them, I am your brother Joseph. They could not believe that Joseph was still alive and became a high ruler of Egypt. But Joseph forgave them. Joseph let them go home to bring the old father and all their family members to come to Egypt as soon as possible. So they all came to Egypt and had a happy reunion with Joseph. How great is our God! Now it's time for you to think about some questions. Number 1. What did Joseph's father ask his brothers to do? Number 2. Did Joseph's brother really repent? How do you know? Number 3. Did Joseph forgive his brothers? How do you know? Number 4. How did God bless Joseph and his brothers? Thank you, boys and girls. God bless you.
Hi boys and girls, it's Memory Verse time! Woohoo! Let's see what today's memory verse is. Today's memory verse comes from Genesis 45:7. This is when Joseph reveals the big secret to his brothers that he is their brother, and he explains God's plan to them. Joseph is talking to his brothers and tells them, God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth. Let's read that one more time. God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth. What does this mean? First, Joseph says that God sent me before you. You see, years before there was a famine, God had already placed Joseph in Egypt. Then when there was a food shortage, Joseph's brothers had to go to Egypt for food. Now why did God send Joseph to Egypt before his brothers got there? Joseph says, God sent me before you to preserve for you. Preserves means to protect or to keep safe. Do you have a favorite toy that you like to keep safe? Well, God wanted Joseph to keep something safe for his brothers. What did Joseph keep safe? The truth is, Joseph kept his brothers safe. Joseph tells his brothers, God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth. A remnant means a group of people or a group of survivors. And this group of survivors was Joseph's family. In other words, God wasn't thinking about keeping a toy safe. God was thinking of keeping Joseph's family safe. You see, God sent Joseph to Egypt to stock up on food, so that when his brothers got there would already be food saved up for them. They didn't have to go hungry, so they could survive. Think about when your mom or dad give you food to eat. They have to go buy the food, then chop the food, then cook the food, and then give you food to eat. That's a lot of planning. Well, God planned years in advance to make sure Joseph's brothers had food to eat, and he cares for all his children in the same way. What's even better is that God doesn't just give us food to eat, he also gives us a way to be forgiven of all our bad actions and bad thoughts. And the only way we can be forgiven is through faith in Jesus Christ, because of his life, death, and resurrection. The thing is, God promised that Jesus would be the great-great-great-grandchild of someone from Joseph's family. If Joseph's family didn't survive the famine, then Jesus would never have been born, and we would be doomed. But nothing can stop God's love for his children, not even a worldwide famine. God sent Joseph to Egypt to keep his family fed and alive, and so that Jesus could eventually be born, and we could be saved from our sins. And that's how much God cares for his children.
And now it's time for Silly Songs with Mr. Ed.
the part of the show where Mr. Ed comes out and sings a silly song.
Good to see you again, boys and girls. Some of you might have been complaining that the silly songs aren't silly enough, so I picked one that's really, really silly. Now you hear our neighbor dog. How many of you had dogs at home? Raise your hand. What's your pet's dog's name? All right. Well, a long time ago when your parents were young, a common name for a dog was Rover. Rover! Come here, Rover. Sit, Rover. Heel, Rover. Well, if you love your pet dogs, you may hate this song because it's about a dead dog, Rover. Let me teach you the words and we'll sing it. I'm looking over my dead dog, Rover, that I've overlooked before. One leg is missing, the second one's gone, third one is scattered all over the lawn. All over the lawn. No use explaining the one remaining. It's hanging on the kitchen door. I'm looking over my dead dog, Rover, that I ran over with a mower.
Oh gosh.
Okay, this is how it goes, boys and girls. We'll sing it slower and a little faster. And maybe Rover's gonna sing with me. I'm looking over my dead dog, Rover, that I've overlooked before. One leg is missing, the second one's gone, third one is scattered all over the lawn. No use explaining the one remaining, it's hanging on the kitchen door. I'm looking over my dead dog, Rover, that I ran over with a mower. One more time. I'm looking over dead dog, Rover, that I've overlooked before. One leg is missing, the second one's gone, third one is scattered all over the lawn. No use explaining the one remaining, it's hanging on the kitchen door. I'm looking over my dead dog, Rover, that I ran over with a mower. Have a
Hello! We're here with Sunday School Craft Time. We're going to be doing the craft about Joseph and his 11 brothers. This verse, you can find it in Genesis 41 to 37 to 47 to 12. The supplies that we need for today's crafts are going to be one sheet of white cardstock. We're going to need the template of the picture, and then we're going to need crayons or markers. Today I have markers to use for myself. You're going to need some glue of the liquid variety, so if you don't have liquid glue, you can always use a hot glue gun. Please use it under parental supervision because this is super hot and kind of dangerous if you use it by yourself. Yeah, so ideally if you have liquid glue, that would be the best. And then you need uncooked rice or grains or lentils. Today I have granola that I'm going to be using, so grab whatever you have in the house. I think a lot of you guys might have some rice that you can ask your parents. And then lastly, you just need one sheet of copy paper, which I have on hand for later use. So starting out, we're going to be coloring. Take your time with coloring. I started coloring this brother's shirt in pink, but you know, you can go ahead and do whatever you want for any color. Color their faces, color the bags, and just make it pretty and decorate it to your choice. Ta-da! So this is my colored in picture. And then now after you've finished coloring, you can go ahead and see how there are these bags right here. We're going to be taking our glue, which you should have liquid glue, or if you have a hot glue gun, you're going to be gluing in this dark circle right here. And once you're done with that, you're going to lay some grains into it. Alright, let's see where you guys at. You should have something that looks a little bit like this. In each bag, you got a little bit of grain going on here, stuck together with the glue. And you want to go ahead and do that for all of these bags. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You want to go ahead and fill in all 10 of these bags, and then you'll be done there. But for now, we're going to move on. So what we want to do after that is make sure that the glue dries completely. For me, mine is using hot glue gun, so the glue is going to go dry super fast. But for you guys, it might take a little bit of time for it to dry, so go ahead and just wait a little bit for that to finish. And then once that has finished drying, then you'll be all finished with this craft. And lastly, if you notice on this side right here on your instructions page, there should be a silver cup that you should be able to cut out, and you can go ahead and glue that in the middle as well. We're going to go ahead and do that right now. Using your scissors, of course, please be careful. Some of these are very sharp. You don't want to hurt yourself. I'm going to go ahead and cut out that area. Alright, and just paste that cup right in the middle next to the sack, and then after that we are all finished. One last thing is optional. You can go ahead and take this Bible verse here and glue it on the back of your paper as well, so that you have an easy place to remember it and practice the Bible verse when you're finished with the craft. Alright, I hope you guys will be able to make this prettier than mine, because I didn't even fill in the lines very well, and I'm sure you guys are way better at doing that than I am. Alright, bye-bye.
Was an alien looking for his home, the true promised land, cause he lived by faith in these foreign lands. His heart sang this song like a homesick man. This world is not my home, I'm just a passing through, so here I don't belong. My treasures are laid up in the true promised land. Till then I'll sing this song. I am a stranger, I'm a foreigner, and I'm lonely from my home. I don't belong here, I don't belong here, and I'm lonely from my home. I am a stranger, I'm a foreigner, and I'm lonely from my home. I don't belong here, I don't belong here, and I'm lonely from my home. I am an alien. I am an alien. I am an alien.
I'm not an alien from outer space, but my home changed when I was saved by grace. So I'll live by faith in these foreign lands, and I'll sing this song like a homesick man.
I wasn't born this way, I was reborn this way, to be an alien. For Jesus came to earth to buy me with his death, so I belong to him. I am a stranger, I'm a foreigner, and I'm lonely for my home. I don't belong here, I don't belong here, and I'm lonely for my home. I am a stranger, I'm a foreigner, and I'm lonely for my home. I don't belong here, I don't belong here, and I'm lonely for my home. I am an alien. I am an alien. I am an alien. Some who live by faith conquer lions' dens, conquer armies and conquer giants. But some who live by faith lose to lions, lose to angry words, swords and prisons. So if we win the crowds or we lose our lives, he has died for us, so let's give our lives. Now my heart belongs to heaven's Lord, I can't feel at home down here anymore. This world is not my home, I'm just a passing through, so here I don't belong. My treasures are laid up in the true promised land, till then I'll sing this song. I am a stranger, I'm a foreigner, and I'm lonely for my home. I don't belong here, I don't belong here, and I'm lonely for my home. I am a stranger, I'm a foreigner, and I'm lonely for my home. I don't belong here, I don't belong here, and I'm lonely for my home. I am an alien. I am an alien. I am an alien. I am an alien. preacher, Christ better. Want a leader, Christ is better. Want a priest, Christ is better than any penance you could offer.
Best in heaven, best on earth, maker of the universe. He holds all things up by his word and washed away our sin and curse.
Still boasting wisdom, cash in mind, but boasting this, I know Christ. Want God's glory, look at Christ. The Lamb was crucified.
I pledge allegiance to the cross for Jesus' sake. Have all things lost to know his suffering in life, cause knowing him's the greatest prize.
Might not have your best life now when you follow Christ, not the crowd. If they hated him, they'll hate you too, but he's the only way and truth. So don't back off from Jesus Christ. He alone has the words of eternal life. To the upright strike, we got a new hope. Till I can be he, I'm falling home. I am a